Digging through the past is not that hard. Rusted cars and broken shards, mining memories in an old wrecking yard. Echoes of laughter, whispers of pain. Time stands still, but the memories remain in this graveyard of
Welcome to the Wrecking Yard. I'm Jerry Wayne Longmire, and y'all, presumably still y'all, all are welcome here in the Church of Internal Combustion. We just ask that you show up with an open heart. Whew. That is some very hot coffee. And Yirgacheffe, Ethiopian Yirgacheffe coffee. Oh my goodness. It is a early Sunday morning for me. Not early, I guess. I think the Corvette clock is taking a turn. Appears to be off a little bit. Well, who knows what time it is? I don't have a clue. Just came in off the road, and Saturday, I did 2,000 miles in a few days, and my body was a little wrecked. Saturday, I didn't do anything yesterday. I mean, when I did not do anything. I took a edible about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and after that, the rest of the day was a wash. Did sit down and try to write down some details for this episode, but I just didn't have it in me to do this lesson. I didn't want to be on camera, and I was just tired, and I just needed a day decompress a little bit from that trip I just took. Not even the trip I just took, but it's just honestly, and I'm not complaining. Like I said, I'm happy to have all the work. But the last month has been kind of grueling, and we knew when we took on the stuff with the book and decided to speed up the schedule on the book, we knew it would be grueling. It wasn't. I mean, we sat down and talked about this, like, okay, this is going to be some work, you know. So I ain't complaining about it, griping about it. It was too many days in a row, and finally yesterday my body was like, no, man, we quit, and we ain't doing shit. So I just had to take a minute and recognize that. But it's all right. Sunday morning, and the birds is chirping. Sebastian's out there looking at things he can't catch, and I got me some good coffee in my this is a Charlie Harper mug from Cincinnati. Charlie Harper is a painter in Cincinnati. It paints vibrant birds and nature stuff. And my good friend Mary Whitaker sent me this mug as a gift a couple years ago. Because it's got Blue Jay on it, you know. If you've been here this long, you know my predilection towards Blue Jays. So I got some good hot coffee, and we're gonna do this thing. We're gonna make some magic here. Magic, something. I don't know. It's been a while. Uh, it just kind of dawned on me this past week that we were at the end of the season, which is good because I need a little break. I got to get some things caught up, and some amazing opportunities have come down the pipeline, and I can't tell y'all about them all yet, but I can tell you I have signed 5 NDA agreements this week before I've even been allowed to look at things, move further on the deal. So I'm just 5 NDA agreements I have signed this week, signed my name to. So, and if any one of those 5 things just hits, then Pooh Bear's going to hit a lick, baby. Just any one of those things, big lick for Pooh Bear. Hell of a Pooh Bear lick. All right, any one of those things. So, and I suppose in some crazy universe, there's a scenario where all 5 of those things hit, but I dare not dream that cosmically or that expansively. Dare not dream, but do dare dream that one of these is going to hit. Any one of them is something I'd be wildly interested in being a part of, and also uh, using my creative talent to make better. Not that they necessarily need me, but boy, it sure would be cool. So, I can't wait the minute I can tell anybody. You guys will be first to know for sure. Um, let's talk about season 3 a little bit. Let's talk about it because I know I scared the shit out of everybody at the end of season 1. It was like, I'm changing the format and I'm doing all this, and next thing you know, there were hopped up, coke-addled weathermen and old men arguing about how phones work, and things got weird. I recognize that things got weird. We will not be doing that this go round. Season 30 is going to be much a continuation of what we're already doing here. I am going to tell you there's going to be um, there's still going to be a lot of stories, but I'm moving away from some of the car stuff, and it's not because I don't want to do the car stuff. It's just because I'm running out of car stories. I have a lot of car stories, a ton of them, but there is a end game in that, a finite ending to that, where like but there's a lot of stories I want to tell y'all. A lot of people that I don't necessarily associate a car with. A lot of characters and circumstances that make great stories that I'd love to share with you guys. They just don't have anything to do with the car, so I'm gonna have to figure out a different way to introduce those stories. And if you have feedback on that, I would sure love to hear it. I absolutely would. You guys that have stuck around this long, y'all are my real ones. Y'all are my day oneers. So not all of you are day oneers, but if you stuck around this long and you're keeping up with it, then there's this, you got a special place in the hierarchy here of the people. And I had the opportunity this weekend to meet a real one, a real day oneer, a real day one, like some of y'all are, like some of y'all, and it 100% absolutely affected my perspective on this whole thing. I'm gonna be honest, in a very positive. I didn't know that I needed the universe to send me Forrest, but the universe sent me a giant of a man named Forrest to straighten some things out in my head, and I just couldn't be more tickled about the way I feel about things right now. I'm a little tired. Sorry if my eyes look a little ragged. I've been running hard, baby. I'm gonna run hard. I'm gonna set this thing up rendering when I'm done, and get out there and mow that my yard looks like the Jungle Book. Uh, and I'm even going to admit I paid a Mexican fella I know uh, $50 to come over and cut my ditch because the ditch was so overgrown, and I hate cutting that ditch. I fall down every time. It's steep. It's weird. I hate weed eating anyways, and my weed eater's not very powerful. It's I bought the small gas engine one, and it's has trouble keeping up with the big weeds and stuff. And this fella got him one of them big old steels. It's got like I don't know, 30 horsepower GM diesel 2-stroke something on it. I don't know. But that booger will cut that ditch. And every once I've used his services a few times over the years. And I looked at that ditch and looked at the $50 cash I had in my pocket and said, seems like a fair trade to me. I'll go work hard and make some more of that. Because I didn't want to do it. So I mean, as soon as it's done, we get there, get on that mower, and we'll cut the rest of the yard. Uh, and then I got to take my hedge trimmer. I got to do a bunch of trimming. Everything's going crazy. The jungle next door, the people don't keep up, is growing all over through my fence and into my driveway. I got to cut all that. And I just haven't been home much lately. And when I have been home, it's been raining or 190,000 degrees, and I haven't felt like doing it. Get out there and do that. I have had a lot of positivity lately, and I can't wait to share it with you. So, sorry if I look tired, but just I had me a good rest day yesterday, and feel a little renewed in the spirit, if you will. But there are good things afoot. There are good things afoot. So it's very clear to me that y'all are rooting for me too, because somebody must be for all the good things that are coming down the pipe towards me, and the small things and the big things that have happened in the past couple of weeks. So that's got a lot of what today. I picked my Mazda today. Y'all have heard me talk about it. I've told you a few stories that have occurred in it. Um, but because I wanted to talk to you about a little more modern version, the now version of myself, and let you guys in on kind of how things are faring out there on the road and stuff. Woo! Lord have mercy, that is some strong coffee. I don't have my air conditioner going, but it's only about 80 degrees in here. It doesn't feel bad to me. We'll see. I may change my mind halfway through the podcast and run and go get the air conditioner, but I doubt. I think we're just going to tough it out and let the day begin out here in the wrecking yard. I used to record all these in the morning. Those of you that know, way back in the day when I first started, I was having all the audio problems, and I would come out here very, very early in the morning and record these because it was so hot. I started this thing in summer. It didn't dawn on me that my studio was going to be 100 degrees every day. And so I would come out here at like 5 in the morning and try to record these things before the sun cast its cruel gaze towards Houston, Texas. But so it's been a while since I've been out here in the morning, except futz around and work on stuff. And I haven't really, since I've been working on my car a little bit, the Cadillac, I haven't really been out here messing around with stuff. I got a bunch of projects in limbo, and my weed eater head is set up on the vise over there because I got to tear it all back down. So season 3 is going to be marginally different, and there may be a little less car stuff, just because not every episode is going to be built around a car. Still going to talk cars plenty because I love them, but just to let you guys know. And I'm going to take a week off. There won't be an episode next week. I'm going to take a week and sort of reframe what I'm trying to do, and try to get myself a head start. I've got like 3 or 4 episodes half written. I really want to do this episode about my father-in-law, about Ken Carr, Rachel's dad. And his truck is a 2001 3/4 ton GMT 800 Chevrolet. Nope, his was a GMC too. And it was the truck he owned the entire time I knew him. And the man was a devout lover of the GMT 800 platform. He thought it was one of the best pickups ever made. And I tend to agree with him. But the man left so many impacts on my life in so many different ways. He's a little difficult to talk about, and I just want to make sure I do him some justice when I talk about him. We all miss him a great deal, so that one's coming up the pipe. That may be the very first episode of season 3, but I've been working on that one a little while because I really wanted to try to capture all the stuff he taught me and share those things with you, whether they're applicable in your life or not. You know, they may be, they may not be, but they were all applicable in mine. Anyways, so that's the deal. Yeah. Let's do a little sponsor copy. Let's see. If you've got a business or a brand you're looking to get in front of real folks, actually listen, I want to help you do that. The Wrecking Yard is one of the fastest growing shows out there. Averages 8 to 10,000 downloads a week with 13% engagement. We're on every major podcast platform, and we broadcast live on video on the YouTube. The folks that tune in, they're loyal, sharp, and they show up for some very honest self-reflection and stories from the piney woods and lessons from the junkyard. And I believe it to be a different kind of podcast than anybody else is doing. When I talk about products, I believe in people pay attention because I don't talk about a lot of products, period. But when I do, it's something I've told y'all about, things that I didn't have any sponsorship for, things that I just like. And people tend to listen because I'm a fairly frugal, good old boy for the most part. And people know I'm not wasting my time telling them about things I don't believe in or things that don't work. So we got sponsor spots open for 3. We got a few people lined up that want to jump in on season 3, but I still got spots open. Your name, your logo, your hat, or your shirt, front and center on a podcast that's already signed a book deal and been optioned for TV and film. And honestly, between y'all and me, it's probably going to be 2 books. So that sounds like your kind of ride. Email jwlcomedy@gmail.com and let's grow together. All ships rise is my motto. I believe in that firmly. I'm not wearing a sponsor shirt today. This shirt is my buddy Jeff Canada's shirt. And the reason I'm wearing it is because I've just recently really been able to wear it and feel confident in it. I bought it supporting my buddy. Jeff's a good friend of you. He's been on the show. I'm a big fan of his music. I bought the shirt from him, I don't know, about a year ago. And I wore it once, and then after I washed it, it shrunk a little bit, and I didn't feel confident in it. My belly was hanging out of the bottom of it, and it was making me feel a little insecure. And I've always hated that. I've always worn long shirts, even at my biggest, because I don't like when you're a contractor, you see a lot of dudes with stomachs hanging out of their shirt. And I did not want to be one of those dudes with my stomach hanging out of my shirt, because there ain't nothing worse trying to hand somebody tools up a ladder with his gut hanging in your face. You know, if you've worked blue collar contract stuff or helped your dad clean out the gutters, you've been there, you know. So I just didn't want to be that dude. I didn't want my dudes to be handing me tools and be like, good Lord, you know. But as of now, I am low enough weight wise and in my weight loss journey that I'm actually able to wear this shirt and feel pretty confident. So that's why I'm wearing it. That and Jeff Canada is awesome. Um, I'm wearing my favorite hat right now, and that is from the Outlaws and Gents Grooming Company, who is a company that I'm about to do some work with. We're not there yet. I mean, we're figuring it all out, but I've met the owner of this company and spent some time with him, and he is a really engaging, interesting guy, and we're going to do some business together. I like his products. I like what he's doing. I like his branding, and it all sort of fits my vibe, and we're going to do some stuff together. So I'm excited about that. That's all. That's part of everything we've been working on lately. All right, let's get into the Mazda a little bit. Now that I've jibber jabbered quite long enough here, I believe. It's crazy. I can't believe we're at the end of season 2 already, man. I don't know what made me decide the seasons were 30 episodes long. I don't really have any answer for you on that. It doesn't fit within the timeline of year. You know, it's going to stagger and change, and you're going to see me at different times of the year. But it just felt, I don't know. I just like the number 30. That feels like a good number of episodes for a season. So, a few changes coming down the pipeline for season 3, but not anything crazy. There will not be any crazy characters and such like that. There will be just kind of more of what we like here. Let's talk about the Mazda. Every now and then, a car company gets it right in a way that feels like they weren't even trying to please the whole market. Just the kind of folks who still care how a car feels to drive, but maybe can't afford to spend the money on high end cars. The second generation Mazda 3 is one of those. You will find people all over this country, especially people involved in SCCA and people involved in lemons racing, and hobbyists who just like something that feels a little sporty to drive. You will find fans of this car all around the country. It's amazing. It is so funny to me how many people come up to me and talk to me about it, because it's just the first time I looked at it, it was a very plain Jane little car, and it was just an economic decision when I bought it. Mazda had been dreaming this thing up since 2004. They handed the pencil to a fellow named Kunihiko Kurisu, and I don't know what he was driving before that, but I like to think it was something that rattled just enough to drive him crazy. From 2005 to 2006, he's sketching, measuring, tweaking, while the rest of us was worrying about gas prices and trying to remember our MySpace passwords. By '08 in November, they finally pulled the covers at the LA Auto Show, and let me tell you, this wasn't just some good enough commuter box. You get it with two engines here in the States, the trusty little 2-liter four banger from the first gen. Or if you're feeling like a man of means, the 2.5-liter four out of the Mazda 6. That bigger motor made 168 horsepower, which in a car this light was more than enough to make your insurance agent start asking questions. And we talk about platforms here a lot. This thing rides on the C1 platform. Now, the C1 platform, a lot of folks don't know this, is a multi-car company platform that was kind of cooked up between Mazda, Ford, and Volvo. And they've all used this platform to build various cars. Same, it shared this. The Mazda 3 shares its bones with Volvo and Ford. The same basic skeleton. Mazda seasoned it a little better than anybody else, if you ask me. They took that little stew of the C1 platform and they made something a little better than Ford did, and I feel a lot better than what Volvo did with it. They made it a hair wider and a little longer, but somehow even lighter. Kind of like when your buddy's like quits drinking beer for 6 months. Still the same guy, just tighter around the middle and a little quicker off the line. Now, if you're in Europe or Asia, you got more engine choices. They even had a 2.2-liter turbo diesel, which is like giving the whole neighborhood the same bicycle, but one guy's has a hidden motor in it. We never got that here because thanks to ridiculous regulation and the EPA, America just can't have nice things. Performance wise, nothing crazy. 2010 with a 2.5 and a 6-speed manual, it hit 60 in 7.4 seconds, quarter mile in the mid 15s. Not going to win you a pink slip at the drag strip, but is enough to embarrass your neighbor's Civic Si while he's still waiting for that magic VTEC fairy dust to show up. Trim levels were split into I for the small engine and S for the big one. And if you ponied up for the 3S Grand Touring, Mazda gave you the works: leather, power seats, rain sensing wipers, climate control for both sides, the headlights that actually turned with the wheel. The hatchback version showed up at the Bologna Motor Show, which, yes, is a real place, not just a sandwich joke waiting to happen. Over in Europe, they were already doing start stop tech on the 2.0 DSI engine. Suppose they gave you a 12% bump in city mileage. Over here, you know, we're still letting our trucks idle in the driveway while we run inside to get a Mountain Dew. And then there was the Mazda Speed 3, and it's the troublemaker in the family. Only came as a hatchback, only came with that 2.3-liter turbo, and still only drove the front wheels. It had enough torque to make those front tires yelp like a coon hound that just stepped on a rake. It's a quick little car, fun little car to drive. By 2012, Mazda decided to show off a little. They rolled out the Sky Active updates, new 2.0-liter direct injection engine. Your choice of 6-speed manual or auto. A stiffer body thanks to more high tensile steel. They even added more spot welds to the suspension mounts, which, if you don't work on cars, sounds boring as hell. But it's the difference between a car that feels solid over a pothole and one that makes you wonder if you just lost your ball joints. Sky Active models got little blue trim rings in the headlights, matching blue engine cover, and a paint color actually called Sky Blue. And the numbers, like 30 miles per gallon in the city, pushing 40 on the highway. It's pretty decent, especially at the time period. But the bigger story is that the second gen Mazda 3 never stopped being fun. It wasn't just transportation. It wasn't just an A to B car. It was a car that wanted to be driven. And I respect that. In a world where, especially at that time period, every small car was turned into a bland, tall roofed crossover, Mazda still cared about the way the steering felt, about road feedback, about the driver smiling, on the way to the grocery store. So if you see one of these today, especially a clean hatch with a manual, just slow down, take it in a little bit, look at some of the design on it, give it the nod. It's not just another used car sitting in a parking lot. It's a survivor from probably the very last decade of small car design, where small cars still had a little bit of soul. My Mazda 3 is a 2012 model. Has a 6-speed manual and the 2.5-liter 4-cylinder in it. It's a S trim. It's not a tour. It doesn't have leather seats or anything like that, but it had a lot of goodies inside. And the way I got my Mazda 3 was my buddy David. Y'all met David, the transmission fella, David Doyd, one of my close friends. David had this car. He bought it. Well, I'm trying to remember what the story on this car is. Should have wrote that down. Oh, I do remember. Fella brought this car into one of the transmission shops that David manages, and the car only had 70,000 miles on it at the time, and the guy had blown the clutch out on the car. Which, if you know anything about modern clutch hubs and clutch setups, it's kind of hard to do. I am a little curious as to what the young man was doing that he tore the clutch up in this car the way he did, because most of these cars went well over 100,000 miles before they ever needed any clutch work. So it was kind of a little bit unheard of that somebody had run one in the ground so quickly. And the clutch hub had been destroyed in it. And the guy was buying the car from one of those tote the note lots. They had come about the car somehow, got a good deal on it. Sold this guy, the whole high interest, the old tote the note lot model. And they had sold him this car. And I think he was pretty paid up on it. He was pretty ahead of the game. And he expected them to fix the clutch in it. And they said, no, we're not going to spend the money. It was like $2,500 to do the clutch and stuff in it. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. You can stop paying on the car. We'll come pick it up, whatever. But he had already had the transmission shop take the transmission part. So now they're owed money. So the transmission shop says, hey, man, you're going to come pick up this car. You owe us this $400 or $500 to tear the transmission down, figure out what the problem was. And the guy looked at his options and said, no, the hell with that. I'm just going to go buy me another car. And That's what he did. And he left that car at that transmission shop. Well, they went back and forth with the tote the note lot that owned the car, and they said, no, we're not going to come get the car. And they said, well, okay, well, we're going to have to put a lien on the car, which means at some point you're going to owe us the title. And whatever reason, the tote the note lot company said, we'll just give you the title of the car. Figure it out on your own time. So they did that. Well, David saw the possibility of making a little money off the car. Said, man, I tell you what, I'll pay for the clutch work to be done in the car. Of course, he gets a discounted rate because he runs the shop and he pays the guys to go ahead and do the clutch in the car. And then they test drive it a couple times, make sure the clutch works good. And then they park the car in a little grassy field over there behind the transmission shop. And the car sat. 1 year went by. David, y'all know his story. His wife died. He was going through all kind of trials, tribulations. And a lot of his cars had to sit by he owns quite a few cars. He's always buying and flipping cars and buying old cars and working on them. And he just didn't have time to mess with it. He had too many other things going on. He had 2 little daughters. He had to figure out how to do everything for by himself. And you guys know his story if you've been around for a minute. David's a hell of a man. And then the car sat a little longer. I was looking for some little car. I wasn't sure what I was going to get. I was actually thinking something a little bigger. I was actually looking for a Honda Accord. I wanted to like a 2010, 2012 Honda Accord. I've driven a few of them. I like them. They're good little cars. I thought that would make me a good little road car for doing all this driving I do. Pickup truck's not a good option for that. I can't afford the fuel mileage on a pickup truck driving across the country for $1,000 shows and such like that. When you add up all the expensive, it gets very expensive to travel like this, and that's why sometimes it's cheaper to fly. But rarely, but sometimes it is. I was looking for something along those lines. David said, "Hey man, I got this little Mazda 3. Are you interested in it?" And I said, "Is it a hatchback?" And he said, "No." And I said, "No, I'm not interested in it." Because I liked the little Mazda 3 hatchbacks. I thought they were cool looking. They were kind of sporty looking. They were kind of neat looking little cars. And we didn't think nothing about it in a couple of weeks. The car's already been sitting over there for a year and a half, 2 years. And then I said, "Hey man, let me come over there and look at that little Mazda." And so I drive over one day and I look at it, and I don't hate it. It's a little 4-door sedan. I think it would be cooler if it was a hatchback, but I didn't hate the car. I was like, man, let's make a deal here. And we talked about it and back and forth, and David had to do a little bit of work on the ignition system. Was all screwed up because the tote the note lot had a tracking device, teletrack or some crap they'd wired into it, and it hadn't been done very well. And David had to straighten some of that out. But as a result, the ignition system's still a little screwed up on it. You got to stick the key in and then hit the button to get it to start. I don't have a fob that works for it, so the alarm system locking the doors and unlocking the doors is often requires holding your mouth the right way and turning the key just the right way in the door to get it to do all that sort of stuff. Wasn't really concerned with that. When he offered me a car for like $2,500, just a little more than what he had in it. And I thought, well, I'll buy that car and I'll fix all the little doohickeys on it. The inner fenders were falling down because they needed the little plastic clips, and the front air dam underneath had been damaged and was hanging down a little bit. And there's a little booger on the passenger side back by the gas tank. And what I assume from looking at it has happened is the fella owned the car at some point, drove off with the gas nozzle still stuck in the car, and it did a little damage to the gas door and the fender back there. Nothing big. I'm not a big looks person or appearance person. Other than that, the car's pretty clean. few little wears and tears on the interior. The little There's a little like a half oval information center in the dash, and the dash is a little warped over that, and the information center, the screen on it's all jacked up, and I suspect it just got cooked in the Houston heat, as cars tend to do down here. It was getting parked outside a lot. It sat out in that field for a while. Who knows? Other than that, inside the car is pretty clean. And at that time, I think had 76,000 miles on it, which for one of these little compact cars is pretty unheard of. Most people just drive the wheels off of them. So to find one with that low mileage, I sort of thought, boy, I'll fix all these little things on it. And at the time, some of those little cars were going about 5 to 6 grand. And I thought, boy, I'll fix all these little things on it, and then I'll put this car up for sale and make a little money on it. Then I'll take the money I make on this little car and put it together with some other money, go buy what I'm looking for. The things we tell ourselves. Now, I've told y'all what I got the car from David, got it registered and all that good stuff and titled. And I had to go run and do a trip out to Walnut Springs, Texas, to do some work for John Clay Wolf, and drove out there, and I just enjoy it. It has a little moon roof, and I'd never had anything with a 6-speed in it. Took me a little while to get used to that 6-speed, because every time I put it in 6th gear, I was just sure I was putting it in reverse. Not the case, but I enjoy driving a little car. For long highway trips, you can just put it on cruise control and sort of lean back in the seat, and little thing damn near drive itself. And then when you're driving through the foothills and stuff out in West Texas, it was fun. It was sporty. You get around the curves. It had a little more get up and go than I thought it would. I was like, man, I haven't had a manual transmission in a long time. I'm really enjoying that aspect of it too. So I decided to keep the car. And it was a good thing I did, because then the year that I decided to keep that car, we went through quite a bit of last summer was a very bad summer financially for us. My World of Outlaws gigs went away, not because of anything I did, just because that series, they were having all kind of shake up in the hierarchy of their company, and they decided to stop spending money on stuff outside of just trying to keep the company together. And I don't blame them. It's what you got to do sometimes. But it was a lot of work I'd counted. It was some eggs I had counted before they hatched. It's one of those doors that closes. We talked about the doors closed. That was a door that closed. And I was sad, because it was a door I was vastly interested in, because I grew up on dirt tracks and I just loved dirt track racing. Uh, and who knows, I may do some more for them later on with nobody left mad. Everybody's still friends. And I still talk to my people over there at Woo, and um, still have a great deal of respect for all those guys, and love the organization. Still will continue to support the organization, because I am a fan first and foremost. And then we got hit with the derecho tornado and the hurricane, and did a bunch of damage to the house and studio, and one thing after another. Rachel's car started costing me some. Of the Cadillac is getting to the age where the Cadillac wants to be a little bit of a biatch, and that's why you're supposed to sell a Cadillac before it gets that many miles on it, because that's the area, that's the time period where all the Cadillac stuff starts failing. I've decided to hold on to the little SRX and fix everything that's wrong with it, but that's going to cost me a little bit of money. Uh, I got about $1,000 I need to spend on the Cadillac, and we're going to be doing that here pretty shortly. And I think next year we're going to replace it, get Rachel something newer, but I may keep the Cadillac for my little road car after that. The little SRX might be a good road car. Gets good fuel mileage. Also kind of a fun car to drive, and very luxurious on the inside, comfortable. So I'm glad I made the decision to keep the Mazda when I did, because otherwise I'd have been in a bigger financial bind, probably as a result of spending a little more on something else. I'm crying to you guys about my money, but comedy's not always a this is a when you make the decision to pursue art as your occupation, it's a decision full of sacrifice, and the sacrifice doesn't just extend to you. The sacrifice extends to your family and the people dependent on you. And so I spend a lot of my time and a lot of my financial efforts making sure mama and the kids are good and have the things they need. And then I sort of put myself on the back end of that, which a lot of men do. I think a lot of us were raised that way. My mom always had the nice car. My dad always had whatever else we could afford for him to use to go to work and stuff. And I think that's a pretty common model in a lot of families. I don't think we're all that extreme for doing that. And I have trouble spending money on myself. My wife will tell you I will hem and haul about a $30 uh, camera tripod, and I'm just the worst. I just don't like to spend money on myself. In fact, usually when I get nice things, it's because my wife has gone behind me and got it for me. That's just who I am. It's just I don't know if it's I watched my dad do that my whole life, and I thought that was the model. Um, but I just feel an intense desire to make sure my people are okay before I worry about what I need. And in that situation with this Mazda, it paid off. I needed a cheap little car, and I fixed some things on it. I went through and fixed some things, and my oldest kid bought me a little CarPlay system to put in it, and with a backup camera and all that. And I installed all that, and it had a few little mechanical. I put new shocks and struts on it, and I did all that myself here in the driveway here, right here in the wrecking yard. And it still has some front end issues. I think it needs a set of ball joints on the right side. So I think I'm just going to buy those control arms with the ball joints already in them and just do all the ball joints on the front end of the car and see if that doesn't get rid of the last little bit of knocking noise I'm getting when I'm going over bumps. Some of that could be Mazda thump. There's this whole phenomenon called Mazda thump, and nobody has ever put their finger exactly on what it is underneath the front ends of those cars that thumps around. A lot of people tell you it's a steering stabilizer. To get to the top of that rack of pinion to change the bushes out on that steering stabilizer, you have to drop a lot of stuff to get up under there. So if it turns out that's what's making the thump, chances are I'm just going to live with the thump. Uh, Unless I hit me a little diamond gem lick and I can go afford to pay my buddy Brady Kimbrough to do it for me. He has a nice little shop not too far from here. If you're on the north side of Houston, you're looking for a decent mechanic, highly recommend Kimbrough Automotive over there off Fulton. Mr. Brady has lived in this area his whole life, went to high school in this area, knows just about everybody in town. And he's just a fine, fine mechanic and an honest, decent fellow to work with. He's done some work. He did some air conditioner work for me on the Cadillac. And I just think he's a fine human being. I enjoy chit chatting with him, and he always does me solid. So it's my little pitch for him. And that's okay. It's okay that I don't make a lot of money doing comedy. I've made a lot of money doing a lot of different things and blown it all. And I've made a lot of money doing a lot of other different things and had it snatched from me by injury or whatever. And we're doing all right here between social media money and the traveling money. We got our heads above water. Summer's always a hard time. Summer's always a tight budget time for us. And this summer has been no different than many others. And luckily, we didn't get any hurricanes or anything yet. And I think we're getting close to the end of hurricane season. So I think we might have got a pass this year in Houston. I'm hoping so. But we've also been fighting a pretty big legal battle over the ownership of this house and stuff like that. And it's been an ongoing thing for a while, and it's costing a lot of money. But I'm not going to let anybody take what belongs to my wife away from her. I'm just not. I don't care what it costs me. I'm just not going to let that happen. She spent her entire lifetime coming and going to this house and spending time with her grandma. And we took care of her grandma up until the day she wasn't here anymore. And nobody else did. And I'm just not going to let anybody take that away from her. It's a personal thing. As a result, like I said, so summer's always a hard time. It's always a little hard time. I told y'all that's so different when I was a contractor. When it was winter, it was a hard time. I do better in the winter in this business for sure. But I had a funny thing happen to me. I was getting so this car sat in that field for a long time, and the tires had flat spots in them. And some of you guys know what that means. It's like if a car sits for a while in one spot, especially with tires made in the last 30 years, the tire at the bottom or the apex of that is going to flatten out a little bit, and it's the fibers of the tire crushed together and harden. And a lot of times you can drive a flat spot out of a tire. You put enough miles on a tire, you'll run that flat spot out, and that tire will re-energize. But I think this car sat just a little too long, and with just a little too cheap tires on it, and it developed a pretty bad shimmy. The last couple trips between about 60 and 80 miles an hour, just and I definitely knew it was tire, and I was pretty sure it was mostly in the back tires. What's the old thing? If you feel it in the steering wheel at low speeds, it's in the front tires, and then if it's like the car and the dash shaking at high, it's usually the back tires. So at least on front wheel drive. So I assumed it was mostly in the back tires, and I got out there and I inspected these tires, and sure enough, one of the back tires I could tell that the tread was trying to separate on it. Well, I didn't have money to go replace all the tires. I just didn't have that on me at the time. It's just wasn't in the budget right now. It was a little bit of a unexpected expense pop up, and I was about to have to drive 2,000 miles in this car, and I didn't have it available without hurting us financially in other ways to go replace all the tires on this car right now. So I set out Sunday before the trip to go find me some used tires. I was already just exhausted. We just did 2 trips to San Antonio back to back. And before that, the big trip to Colorado Springs and Fort Collins with the family. And I was feeling a little ragged. And in between all that, I'm still writing a podcast and doing this sort of thing and still trying to create content. And I was just exhausted. And I got back from the last trip to San Antonio, immediately had to do the Hot Wheels show, which was it's a wonderful thing, but it's 2 to 3 days of mental exertion and me having to put my extrovert mask on and smile, a lot of talking to strangers and stuff like that, which is sometimes hard for me, especially when I'm tired. But we did it all. And then that Sunday, I decided I was going to go find myself some used tires for the back of this car. Used tires are usually an easy thing to do in Houston, but this car had 205 uh, 50 17s on it, I think, which is kind of a weird size. Usually, if you want a decent set of used tires in Houston, you just go on Facebook Marketplace, search the tire size, and somebody has a set of takeoffs somewhere that you can go get. I bought a set of takeoffs at Cadillac that had less than 2,000 miles on them for $200, $230 installed and balanced, all that stuff. Fantastic tires, but it has a more common tire size. That 205 50 17 is not the most common tire size. 215 50 17, yes, you can get them all day long. Wasn't aware of that when I started searching, and so I finally found some little. I found a couple of tire shops that they had them, so I drove around Sunday. None of the tire shops had what they thought they had, and then I found one on Antoine that had 2 mismatched back tires, and they sold them to me for $90 installed. But they were good. They were pretty decent tires. They balanced them for me, put them on. Went and drove the car. Had way less wobble in it. Felt better, but I can still tell that the front tires need some attention too. Well, I just have to do those when I get back from the ghost. Well, I made a little joke about it on Facebook. I made a little joke about how hunting used tires in Houston on a Sunday morning would tighten up your Spanish better than the Duolingo app, because everybody you talk to speaks Spanish, and I had to drag up my old work Spanish and try to remember how to say some things, and it just made me laugh. So I made this little post about it. And of course, there's the people that wanted to come here. Oh, I can't believe you, Mr. Comedian, can't afford a set of tires. Blah blah blah. You know, that kind of thing. Some people are just going to be negative at every turn. Nobody can. Most people understand it's a joke, and I'm just being silly. But some people are always going to take the opportunity to take a shot. But not one fella. One fella emailed me through my manager, and I got the email, and it said, "Hey, bud, I'd like to sponsor you a set of tires for your hoopty." He said, I've had cars like that all my life, and I know how it is when you ain't got the money to do what you want to do." He was just real nice. He was like, "Man, I just want to sponsor you a set of tires." And I emailed him back. I said, "Man, that's a really magnanimous thing for anybody to do, and I won't look a gift horse in the eye. I would certainly take you up on that." He hit me back. He said, "Well, how do we do it, man?" He said, "I can send you a check for the cost of the tires and the installation." He said, "But I buy my tires from discount, so I could also just go in discount tire and pay for your tires, and you go to a location closest to you and get them installed." And I said, "Man, let's do that, so there ain't no money exchanging hands, and that's just way easier, you know. I'm not asking you, let's just do it like that." So there's a little discount tire by my house. I told him the store number, the location, the size of the tires, all that good stuff. And he said, "Here's what I do, man. I just buy the cheapest tires for my car and put a good warranty on them." And I was like, "Man, I am eternally grateful for anything you want to do. However you want to do it, it's fine by me." And so sure enough, he calls over Discount Tire, and I mean, he's on it too. Like, 'cause a lot of times people say stuff like that, and then it's like you might not hear from them for a month or whatever. Um, but this dude was like, he immediately emailed me back. He's like, "All right, I've been on the phone with Discount Tire. Here's the guy I talked to down at your location. He's a really good dude, and he's got all the information. They're ready for you." And I was like, "Holy crap. I cannot believe this stranger has done this thing for me." So I called I called over to Discount Tire. I talked to the young man that he's told me his name's Greg, and he's really easy to deal with. He said, "Yeah, let's set up an appointment." And this is like the Monday before. This is why I haven't talked about this yet. I'm going to make a little video about it to thank this man, because it's just really a magnanimous thing. I said, "Can I come in about 4 o'clock?" Because my Monday was packed, getting ready to leave for this trip. Busy as hell. I had packing to do. We got new merch in, the stickers. I had a lot to accomplish in a short period of time. So we set an appointment at 4 o'clock. I go over there. I meet with Greg. Greg gets me in and out, gets these new tires put on my car. And when they're taking the front tires off, they call me out to show me one of the front tires. The tread has begun to separate on one of the front tires too. So this gentleman who reached out magnanimously and did this wonderful positive thing for me may have saved my life, because I was driving this thing through the mountains, and I drove through some sketchy stuff in the past week. And so this guy may very well saved me a great deal of heartache from having a wreck or whatever else, because that front tire was in a little bit worse shape than I thought it was. I used to say my superpower was knowing how far I could push a tire without blowing it, but I'm starting to suspect my senses are dulling, because that front tire was in pretty rough shape on the deep inside, and that's the side where where one of the struts was blown out, and I had to replace. Yeah, I did them all, but that was the reason I did those struts, was because that right front side was so blowed out. So Here I am, by the benevolence and the graciousness of a stranger I don't know, in all honesty, with a new set of tires on my car before this massive road trip. And it touch you just we spend so much time talking about the negative aspects of society and the division, and everybody's arguing about politics and this and that, and everybody's just mad at each other. It feels like all the time. It feels like everybody's just angry all the time. And I really try to make this a place that doesn't focus on that. And then here, this stranger just does this wonderful thing for me, and I have to share it with you guys because, first of all, he should be recognized for being a pot. He was just like, man, I said, do you mind if I talk about it? He's like, yeah, but I didn't do it for that. I just was happy I was in a space where I could help you out. And I know what it's like. I've been there. And it just touched me. And I'm paying it forward some kind of way. I don't know what that way is going to be, but as soon as I'm of financial means, I can help somebody else. I might. That's the most blue collar love a brother can show you. Buy you a set of tires. That's deep, deep, deep. That's working man love right there. You know. And if you live in the Fort Worth area and you know a gentleman by the name of Russell Roach, then you, sir, you know a real down dude. You know a real one. Uh, Russell Roach also, hey man, if you come to Fort Worth, let me know. I'm gonna buy tickets for all my friends. We're gonna come out and support you, which is not going to be the case because I just booked some shows in the Fort Worth area, and I guarantee you Russell Roach and his friends are going to be sitting VIP up front, and it's not going to cost him a dime because I'll be damned. You don't do something like that for me and not no, no, you're too good a human being. And I like to think that I'm a pretty decent human being. So I'll be damned. But that's pretty cool, right? That's just a stranger helping a stranger. It just touched me. And I'm gonna be honest, I was having a bunch of anxiety about this trip. I was going to two new markets I haven't been to in a long time. And Pagosa Springs from Houston is about a 14-hour one way, 15-hour one way drive. It's a lot of travel. But I was worried. I could have flown into Durango and rented a car and drove into Pagosa Springs and done the show, but I wouldn't have been able to take an opener with me. And I would have been left at the mercy of whoever they had around to open or just doing a one man show. And it's not something I didn't want to tackle it that way. I wanted to really go in there and put on a good show. And ticket sales were very low. Even by Tuesday, when I was getting ready to leave for Pagosa Springs, ticket sales I think were 20, which barely covered barely would have covered the fuel and my opener. Would have left nothing for me or my family. But when I tell somebody I don't like canceling shows. So when I tell somebody I'm gonna come do something, I try to stand by that. So I ran another ad. I spent another $100 on another meta ad, and I, some of y'all saw I was pushing the promotion pretty hard, and I decided to add a meet and greet because that went so well in San Antonio. We ended up selling a lot of tickets. A lot of people came out and then ended up buying tickets to that night show, and I kind of like that meet and greet during the day because I get to hang out with you guys and kind of just really talk to you in your territory, in your area, and sit down and meet some interesting people. And it's a rewarding experience for me, but it's also, I mean, it's a little taxing. But if I can do it the day of the show, then after it's done, I can go back to the hotel room, kind of focus on my act, work on the stuff I want to work, and then go to the show and give the kind of show I want to give. And I also know, you know, some people have kids, they can't come to the show and stuff, but they can bring their kids out to a meet and greet in a family welcome area like an ice cream shop or a little city hub or something like that. And it's not a big deal. And so, and there's a lot of kids that love truck astrology. So I really like being able, I've really been thinking about doing like a kid specific series because I like kids and I like being able to make kids laugh. So I'm hoping I may do something like that. I may do a couple truck astrologies that are specific just for young people. but I like doing those meet and greets. So I decided to do a meet and greet in Pagosa. I said, man, I got a hold of my manager got a hold of the owner of the theater, and we talked back and forth. Of course, they were tickled pink about it because it's a very Pagosa Springs is a little small Colorado community that most of their money comes in from tourism, but as far as the locals are outnumbered by the tourists big time, and so the locals stick together. And I didn't know they've also been going through a thing. They've been tearing up the entire main streets in Pagosa Springs because 100-year-old infrastructure needed some updates, and the sewage and everything was under the street, and they were having all kind of problems. They need to fix all this stuff, and so that happens in a tourist town, that'll shut down businesses, and it's like a 2-year project. And they're moving towards the back end of it, but that'll shut down businesses that are on they've got the whole street torn up in front of all these businesses, including the theater I'm going to be performing at. So when I find this out, I'm like, well, we definitely should do a meet and greet because I bet a bunch of the tourists that are there hanging around don't realize all that stuff's open or it's kind of hard to access. And maybe if we let people know that, hey, there's a big show in town, yada yada yada, we're going to do it. So I had a lot of anxiety. The Lubbock show we threw together at the last minute. People have been asking me to come back to Lubbock for years. And we threw that show together at the last minute just to have something to break up the trip. Basically, the Lubbock show we did just honestly so I could afford a hotel room for me and my opener to have a break on the trip back from Pagosa Springs because that schedule was going to be grueling without it. So I was like, if I can sell enough tickets, pay for the hotel room and some of the fuel on the trip, and maybe pay for my opener for both shows, then that's a win. And if I make any money at Pagosa Springs, I can just apply that money to my life. These things are a gamble, they are a gamble every time. I got a lot of gambles coming up. I got a lot of my money is tied up in ads and stuff like that because of these gambles I'm taking. But folks, I'm trying to get to more accessible places so more people can come to the show and enjoy the live show because the live show is completely different from everything else I do. And once you experience the live show, I feel like you're going to know me in a way that you didn't know me before. And so I really push that. Well, my good friend Barry Laminette, y'all know him. We road trip together quite a bit. I like Barry because I travel well with Barry. More important, look, if I hire somebody to be on a comedy show with me to open for me or be a part of one of my shows, they're going to be funny. That's the baseline. I don't work with people I don't think are funny. I just don't. I don't work with people. I do work with people that are different from me and different types of comedy. And I'm not one of those people like, oh, I don't like this type or this type. It may not be for me, but I recognize that they're funny and they're very talented. I don't, the baseline for working on one of my shows is that you have the talent and you have the thing that makes you good on stage. Like that's just the baseline. But more important than anything past that, I don't need anybody else to market. I'll do my own marketing. I don't need all that. I don't need anybody to pay for fuel. I'll pay for the fuel. But what I do need is somebody to be a good hang. I need somebody to be easy to travel with. And I have a couple friends that are easy for me to travel with. My buddy Slade Ham, I love traveling with Slade Ham. One, I get to terrorize him a little bit, which I enjoy. Two, Slade and me are very good at checking out. Uh, we might be in the car for 10, 15 hours, and we may spend hours of that with our headphones on doing our own thing. And then every once in a while, when one of us thinks of something funny or interesting to say to the other, we'll take the headphones out, we'll chat for a little bit. And then when that conversation starts to run dry, we'll put the headphones back on and go do our own thing. We're both very good at checking out and being our own authentic selves around each other. We spend a great number of hours together, and Slade's real easy for me to travel. I enjoy traveling with Slade. Uh, his driving scares the shit out of me from time to time, but other than that, I love Slade has an Acura that he believes has all the weight and strength of every 18 wheeler on the road. And he also has a fatwa against 18 wheeler drivers. And it could get a little sketchy at times riding pasture with Slade. He's a good deal. And I'm not going to get off into Slade's personal business, but Slade's been going through some trials, some stuff going on, and so if you got some extra rooting for somebody, do me a favor, root a little bit for Slade too. He needs a little extra, prayers, whatever you got. He they've been going through some stuff over there, and Slade just, he won't talk about it. He online and that kind of stuff. He doesn't want to need anybody's sympathy or nothing. He's a very strong human being, but he could use a little extra positivity if you got something to spare. And he's a real good human being. Barry Laminek, also one of my favorite people to travel with. Me and Barry travel well. Me and Barry are both about the same age, married guys who are faithful to our wives, and we don't go out drinking and clubbing and looking for women and that sort of thing after the show. And our version of getting turned up is having maybe one too many drinks and a cigar on the back porch of some bar before we go back to the hotel and get a little grub and talk comedy for a couple hours before passing out and get ready for the next day. That's some of my favorite things to do, all those things. So me and Barry get along really well. We didn't come up together in comedy. Barry came up in a time when I was kind of removed. So we don't have a lot of history together over than just the last couple years. We were getting booked together on shows and spending some time together, and just really like the guy. He's a really funny act. He can work clean if he needs to, but he's funny clean. He's funny whatever, and even at his dirtiest, I don't think he's that dirty. Um, just a little extra cussing, and I do. I got my shits and my dams in there and everything. I don't do a lot of f word, but I still want to sometimes. I have to stop it. But Barry's just he's a professional. You know what? I mean, you just tell Barry, hey, the show starts this time. Barry's going to be there a little bit before showtime. He's going to read the crowd. He's going to have his camera set up. He's going to be ready to go. He's going to have his set list ready. He's going to be ready to go. He's going to have a plan. Barry goes on stage with a plan, and I appreciate that about Barry. Makes it easy to plan stuff with Barry. And he's a good hand. He's a headliner in his own right. But I do appreciate these times he'll come and open for me because I just think he's a real talented individual, and I like spending time with Barry. I like getting chit chat with Barry. Now, we'll say 14 hours in a car with anybody is a lot of hours, and we left about 5 in the morning. I assumed I would take the first shift, and then Barry would take the second shift, and I'd get some sleep and some work done while he was driving. And I thought that he might do the same thing while I was driving. He did not. Uh, Barry talked to me all 14 hours of that trip, and that's okay. Uh, it's fine. Everything's fine. We did some work here and there and everything. Also, as Barry, you know how to drive a standard? Barry says, well, I haven't driven one since 1994, but I know how to do it. I was like, all right, well, that's good because if you don't know, you're going to learn today because I need some help driving on this trip. Usually, eight up to about 8, 9 hours, I don't need anybody else driving. But when you get about 9 hours, I need a break and need somebody else to take the wheel for a little bit or a hotel room. So I said, Barry, so we shoot out, go across Texas, we go up through Lubbock. It's wild to go on a 50. This is the wild thing about Texas, especially where I live in Texas. If I go west, most of my trip's going to be in Texas. I spent 15 hours driving to Pagosa Springs. And then when I got to Pagosa Springs, I was actually like 10 of those hours happened in Texas before we even got out of Texas. That's wild. 10 hours, you're still in Texas. We go up through Lubbock, up in the high plains. And I wrote some poetry about my feelings about the plains of Texas. I have a funny history with Lubbock, and it's a place I've always enjoyed going, and it's a place that rings deep for me. I've spent some time there over the years, and of course, I'm a Buddy Holly guy, so I like going to Lubbock. Lubbock's a place that I'm a Waylon Jennings guy, so Waylon Jennings and Buddy Holly and Lubbock, there's a lot of ties there. Lubbock's an important place to me. So we go up through Lubbock, we go to Pagosa Springs. I let Barry drive about 8, 9 hours into the trip. And me and my clutch find out very quickly that Barry was a little more rusty than we all thought he was. I went through New Mexico like this. Wow, he was trying to figure out my car. And New Mexico roads, my God, I was so thankful for those Russell Roach tires. Because I'm pretty sure them New Mexico roads would have ended them front tires that were on that Mazda. I think we would have been. And there's a place there between Amarillo and, let's say, Santa Rosa, where there ain't shit. I mean, there's a stretch. I mean, there's text line, but there ain't nothing in text line. There's a stretch where if you don't get fuel, you're going to be in a sketchy situation. So that would have been a terrible place. There's also an area between, honestly, between, because I went up through Chomas and all that. So there's an area between Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Pagosa Springs where there's also a terrible place break down. Barry drives us on into Santa Fe. We stopped at a weed store, a dispensary in Santa Rosa called Dos Hermanos Craft Weed or something. Dos Hermanos Brothers. I don't remember what it is. Boy, I never felt so ripped off in my life. I bought a $10 pre-roll that somehow turned into $18 at the register because I was from out of state and using a credit card. And I was already feeling a little sketchy about all that, but like whatever. And then uh, it was rolled so tight you couldn't hardly smoke the thing. And I read all the stuff about the weed that was supposed to be in it, but it was garbage. I was so disappointed. I will never go back to that place again. I'll just wait till I get to Colorado because they do not have a good review coming from me. That was $18 wasted on a really shitty pre roll that smoked like somebody packed it with a sledgehammer. When we get to Santa Fe, I take back over driving because I know we got to drive through the mountains a little bit. Now, that's a calmer trip into Colorado, I'll tell you that. Going up through Chamas and all that, it's not quite as steep. It's not, you can get some speed, you can move and groove. You don't have to go through Wolf Creek Pass and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little less sketchy. But it was nighttime and I was unfamiliar with the area. And, you know, any kind of driving like that through the hills can be a little intimidating and daunting. And though I polished my headlights before I left, I cleaned my headlights up, redid them. They're just not very bright. I need to look into that. I think I need to upgrade the headlights and maybe just break down and replace the lenses because just not bright at all. Couldn't hardly see. We wound our way. When we start getting up the mountain, start coming back down to Pagosa Springs, all of a sudden this smell fills the car. Now, earlier on in the car, I had to crack one off. I rolled the window down because I'm a gentleman. That's car etiquette when you're traveling with somebody, especially an acquaintance or a friend. You got to drop colon, you roll that window down, you take care of it like a gentleman. Well, I had done that. Well, we start going down through the hills. I forgot about the sulfuric hot springs. This smell fills the car that is so intense that I'm sure whoever has created the smell is dying. It's just one of the worst things I've ever smelled in my life. And so at some point I look over at Barry like, bro, you ain't gonna roll the window down? And Barry's like, what are you talking about? I thought that was you. I was like, no, man, you saw me already. If I do that, I roll the window down. I'm a gentleman. But the smell, my car is full of the smell, and you ain't rolled the window down, and I'm feeling a little sus. He's like, I promise that ain't me. I said, boy. I don't know, man. When we get closer to Ghost Springs, the smell gets stronger. Roll the windows down, I can smell it coming in. I'm like, good God Almighty, maybe it's not Barry. I did tell Barry when we got to a gas station in the mountains, I said, man, if we come back through here tomorrow and I don't smell that smell, I'm gonna know you're lying to me and you shit on me all the way to Ghost Springs. Oh, sulfuric Barry. But when we drove through the day after, the smell was back. So I have to assume Barry was truthful and was not fogging me out of my own car. We get in Pagosa Springs about shit, I don't know, it's 10 o'clock at night. Everything's closed. We haven't eaten. We're tired. 15 hours. That little Mazda ride's tight. Okay. It's got tight little suspension. It's a fun little car to drive, but it'll beat you to death long drive. Right. My knees are hurting. My hips are hurting. Back's hurting. Barry, about my age, much in the same position. We get to this little hotel. It's called the Hillside Inn. And from what I can glean, my manager, Rachel, y'all know Rachel, she puts these travel logs together for me. And it's a little note and it tells me all everywhere I'm going and who my contacts are and all that kind of stuff. And so she's included a note in there that we usually use. We're Hilton Rewards members, and I usually do Holiday Inn Express and Suites. Just about everywhere I go, that's where I stay. Uh, I just like it. It's the same crappy hotel everywhere, and for the most part, it's pretty standardized. So there's no surprises. But we go to this place called the Hillside Inn, which apparently used to be the Holiday Inn in town or Holiday Inn Express in town, and was failing. And this people bought it and took it over and just decided to make it a personal hotel. Uh, so we get in there about 10:30, and I walk in to the front desk, and nobody's at the front desk. There's a little bell. I ding the bell, and no response. Waited about another 5-10 minutes. I ding the little bell again, and no response. Barry's come in from the car now. What's going on? I was like, oh, there's nobody up here. If you want to go look around, see if I can find it. I said, man, I'm just going to call the front desk. So I find the phone number in my little travel log and call the front desk. And I immediately, the phone starts ringing, ringing, ringing. And then somebody picks up somewhere else. Kind of a raspy voice. And he's like, hey, I was like, hey, I'm at the front desk. I'm trying to check in. He's like, oh, sorry, I'm out dealing with the pool. I'll be right there. This young man comes to the front desk. I don't know what he's been working on at the pool, but it made his eyes red. We start checking in and everything. He's very nice, very polite. And of course, there's signs all over his hotel. I know Colorado's got legal weed. There's signs all over his hotel. Leave it in your car. If room even smells like it, you're getting a $275 cleaning fee. I'm like, well, they probably had stoners screw up their rooms and they had to do something about that. So I asked the young man, I said, hey, where can we smoke? And he goes, wait, what are you smoking? I go, the same thing you were, bro. And he goes, ah. He goes, yeah, anywhere out there in the parking lot's fine. Just not around the front doors. Cool, bro. Appreciate it. Because I do plan on partaking while I'm in Colorado. I don't often get to be places where it's legal. So he gets us checked in, and we go into our room. And first of all, there's a big sign on the door. It says "No moleste," which kind of put me on my ear right off the bat. Of course, recognize it was probably Spanish for "Do not disturb," but I think they could have worded that a little better. Just like a "Do not disturbo" or something, not "No moleste." And then the room, it's an old hotel, and the beds are quite clearly stained in a variety of places, which kind of grossed me out. And the beds, they're a memory foam bed, but it's the hardest bed I've ever sat on in my life. I mean, it was like sleeping in a buckboard wagon all night. I'm not too frou-frou, but I need a little give. And then they go in the bathroom, and one of the towels has what looks like dried blood on it, and it looks like there's dried blood on the floor and dried blood in the shower. So I'm pretty skeeved out at this point. I'm like, well, this is not going to be a fun hotel experience, and got to make the best of it. Ain't got time to make changes. There ain't many motels, hotels in this town. We run out, we found a Sonic that was open, and grab us a burger just to have a little sustenance, and go back and try to sleep on these hard ass beds. That's actually out in the parking lots where I tried to smoke that New Mexico joint. And boy, I wanted to cuss them guys because it offered no relief. It was crap weed and just a crap experience. And I just decided to hell with New Mexico weed from now on. If you can imagine, the next morning after a trip like that, I didn't wake up in the best mood. I've already got anxiety about this show. I got to go do the meet and greet. I'm going to do that from like 12 to 2, which means I know I'm going to be out there in the heat and walking around. There's a whole little town center, and I'm going to walk around. All the local businesses have my flyer posted. I'm going to walk around, meet people, talk to people, and tell new people about the show. But I wake up in a shit mood, and I decide my back's all jacked up. I do yoga in the mornings to help with some of my mobility. And I decide I'm gonna go find me. It's a beautiful place. The mountains are all around you. I'm gonna go find me some place to do some yoga. Barry turns out he's never done any. He's very interested. He's like, "Can you teach me some?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's usually something I do by myself, but yeah, I kind of teach you some basics of what I do." But first thing, I just need to get out of this hotel because I don't even want to be in there anymore. And I saw a cool little weed shop on our way in, a little dispensary called Pagosa Craft Cannabis. Couldn't remember where I see it, so we drive back into Pagosa. We get stuck in construction traffic. At some point, I am mother effing this whole town. I'm just a grumbly, bitchy old man, and Barry is rolling over here because I have decided F everybody in this town, F the construction, F the low ticket sales, F this place. I'm ready to drive back to Texas. I'm not the nicest guy in the morning. I'm a grumbly old bastard in the morning. I know that about myself. We find this little dispensary finally, walk in there. There's this blonde lady named Jenny who has the best personality I have found in quite a bit of time. She's just excited to do her job. In fact, she takes our licenses, and then we walk into the main room, and we go in the main room, and she goes, "Hey, first and foremost, I am a stoner. Here's your licenses back before I forget." I already like Jenny. If Forrest Gump had met this Jenny, it would have been a whole different story. Forrest would have had a much better life had he met this Jenny. I mean, he still probably wouldn't have, maybe not met the president, but he'd had a good time with this Jenny, and she'd have been around to raise her kid, I suspect, because this Jenny was a much better Jenny than the Forrest Gump Jenny. And Jenny tells us about all their wares and products, recommends this wonderful pre roll to me that has water hash and some distillates mixed into it. Just has a good mix. And I told her, I was like, I don't like couch lock. I like to do things. I like to go out in nature, and I like to I want something that makes me feel good. And she's like, I got this. It's called Backwoods. I said, all right, I'll take it. And she sells me some edibles that I'm gonna take back home because I like edibles and they're hard to access here, and I like really good ones. And Colorado seems to have the best ones. She's just fantastic, very knowledgeable about her product. She turns my whole day around. Me and Barry are both in a better mood when we leave the shop. Barry, not a weed smoker at all, but he just wanted to, go be a part of the experience. So we both leave the shop in a better mood because of our moment with Jenny, who is just the most enthusiastic weed salesman I've ever met in my life, and just a sweetheart of a human being. And she's assured us she's going to come to the show. She's excited about it. Small town world travels fast. So we find a national park trailhead, and we drive out to this national park trailhead, and we find a place to get the Mazda off of one of these parking lots and a place to go hike. And so we hike out in this mountain and enjoy some of the nature and the scenery, and find us a nice quiet place in the pines, looking out through a valley where I can do some yoga, some stretching. I've had a couple hits off this J. I feel tremendous. I'm already, my day's turning around. I'm in better spirits. We get out there. I teach Barry some yoga. He instantly, after we're done, he's like, "I have not felt this good in a long time." I was like, "I know." I said, if you get past all the hokum about it, it's really just about aligning your bones and your muscles and stretching. It's the same thing we've been taught our lives. You got to stretch. Well, this is just stretching and breathing together. And once you learn to control your breathing, it takes on a deeper aspect of the stretch, and you feel so much better. And I just do a very basic 10-minute routine, but it changes my whole day every time I do it. If you want to do it, look up a lady named Kanta, Kanta Barrios, Barrios, Kanta Barrios, maybe Cantu Barrios. So maybe a or a U. She's on YouTube, free tutorials. Do her basic beginner's yoga. It's 10-15 minutes. It'll change your day. Change berries. Now we're in a good mood. We get back to the car. I've had a little exercise. There wasn't a gym in the hotel. I guess they spent all the money on bloody towels and couldn't afford the gym. I drop Barry off the hotel. He's going to do some work. I go do the meet and greet. I meet Ann, the owner, not the owner, but the lady running the theater. And Ann is a redheaded lady. I would not begin to guess her age, but her and the owner of the theater grew up in New Orleans and have been friends since the 70s. And Ann, I suspect, has been having a good time for most of my lifespan. She's very artisty. I find out that she spent 8 years of her life selling sex toys in a sex shop, and she makes a lot of dirty jokes, but she's delightful. I ended up where I previously was a little worried because I thought, oh no, this is flaky Colorado lady. After I meet her in person, I find her to be a delight, and I'm feeling better about being there. Then I meet some fans that run a page. Oh my God, I'm gonna screw it up. I should have wrote down. Is it Higher Adventures or High Adventures Pagosa? And they've been following me for a little while, and they're really cool people. So I meet them, husband and wife, and they're just fantastic. They catch me right when I'm coming out of the car. They see me, and we chit chat, and I see this redheaded lady wandering around and looking at me, and I suspect that's Ann, but she's a pro. She's not gonna come up and interrupt while me and some fans are talking. So I talk to them, and then another fellow walks up that he's excited. He's got tickets to the show, and he's been following me for a little while. And we chit chat a little bit and snag a picture. And I go meet up with Ann, and she starts introducing me to all the shop owners. And she takes me around. There's a little bar called Pagosa Bar right by the theater, and a little ice cream shop. And there's a food truck called Chef's Cuisine with a young man named Patrick running it. And Patrick was once the chef at the nicest restaurant in town, and that restaurant folded. And Miss Evelyn said, let's build you a food truck and keep you going. And Patrick's food, let me tell you something. This man, it's all comfort food, but this man made me some Baja tacos. I had the chicken and the steak, and they were just out of this world. And they were huge. I took about 2 bites of each one, closed it up, put it in my car to go take it and put it back in the refrigerator. I was going to eat the rest for dinner that night. But the Oaxaca cheese is on point. The tortillas are phenomenal. The meat is cooked with love and care. It was just a fantastic experience. This man can make some food. Of course, meet Mr. Patrick. He's informed me that he's bought most of the VIP row up for the tickets that night, and they tell me, "Hey, our ticket sales are up to 50." Well, we've doubled our ticket sales, so I'm feeling better about that. And I go around, I just start meeting people and introducing myself. And I find out that 80% of the people in that town are from Texas. They're all tourists from Texas. They're all from DFW or Houston for the most part. And making me drive 15 hours to do a show for people from DFW is the most DFW shit anybody's ever done to me in my life. But it's cool. I'm meeting people, have a good time. I go towards the end of it, I go sit in Pagosa Bar, order me a Jameson on the rocks, and start chatting with the bartender. And she is old school, man. She knows comedy. She brings up Ollie Joe Prater. The number of times somebody has brought up Ollie Joe Prater in conversation with me is exactly 3 times. Not everybody knows about him. Ollie Joe Prater was a blue collar kind of dude that long before Foxworthy and everybody else, Ollie Joe Prater took over the Comedy Store in Los Angeles. And I think they're making a documentary about him right now. But he was just this big old, delightfully countrified fella, and he wore an old raggedy cowboy hat, and he was just a delight on stage. A little crude, a little John Belushi-ish, but he had what was his catch? Get out of my way! He was kind of like this little catchphrase. Jeff Foxworthy tells this crazy ass story about Ollie Joe Prater in the book. I think the book's called "I Killed That Night" or something. It's a book about stand-up comedy. Towards the end of Ollie Joe Prater's life, he's very, very heavy. He's very out of shape. He was a chain smoker. He was having trouble getting up and down the stairs at the comedy club to get on stage. And Jeff Foxworthy was opening it for him. So they decided what they would do was Ollie Joe Prater would just go lay on stage and they would put a tarp over him. And Jeff would go up there and open the show. And then when it's time to introduce Ollie Joe Prater, they would pull the tarp off of him and Ollie would get up on his stool and do his act. And Jeff talks about the whole time he's on stage working, Ollie's under that tarp chain smoking. So it looks like there's a chimney under the tarp, you know? Anyways, this lady knows comedy. She's fun to talk to. A couple come in from Illinois. I have a good time sitting talking with them. They're interesting people. Feeling better about everything. Go by the theater one last time. Hell, our ticket sales are up to 68. That's the beauty in those meet and greets. People get to know you, think a little something about you. So, all right, man. So I go back to the hotel. I'm ready now. Me and Barry get ready for the show. We come back, do sound check. Sound sounds phenomenal. Stage looks great. It's going to be a good show. Now we're up to 74 ticket sales. Hell yeah. It's getting better. See, the theater only holds 130 people. Do the show that night. The show just, I'm working on my new special and the beats all hit and I got to work out some new things. It's a fantastic crowd. I got my Diamond Gym certified stickers with me. We sell a bunch of those every show. By the way, if you would like a Diamond Gym certified sticker, if you go to my bio on YouTube, or if you go to, if you just search Linktree, if you just search Linktree Jerry Wayne Longmire, my Linktree will come up. And there is a link down there in the media links that is a link directly to my Shopify store where you can get yourself one of my Diamond Gym certified stickers. We're working on the international shipping right now. If you're overseas, so please be patient with me. We're trying to work that out. But Shopify is helping us, and we're going to get that figured out pretty quick. Also, thank y'all. We have sold over $1,200 worth of stickers already. It's crazy. Those stickers went crazy. Sell some of those after the show in Pagosa. Have a good time. Meet people. We go over to the Pagosa bar and hang out with the bartender from the theater. She is a avid motorcycle enthusiast and does her own mechanic work, and she's just a delight. And we have a great time hanging out with her, talking to her. Me and her she knows the history of Moto Guzzi, which nobody ever knows. Like, Moto Guzzi has one of the most interesting motorcycle histories in history. And we have this huge, fascinating discussion about the history of Moto Guzzi. Not only that, we have a very fascinating discussion about Faulkner because she knows Faulkner too. And it's rare I meet people who actually know Faulkner. And I like talking Faulkner when I meet somebody who knows Faulkner. And so it's just a fantastic evening. We even make a little money. Do the accounting with the theater. We came out ahead. Very next day, we jump up 7 o'clock in the a.m., point the Maserati towards Lubbock, start heading back to Texas, about 8 hours back to Lubbock. Plus, you got a time change. You're going to gain an hour back going back through the time change. Barry milkshakes us all the way through New Mexico. We get into Lubbock, go eat at one of my wife's. My wife graduated from Texas Tech. She has very fond memories of Lubbock. Lubbock's a special place to her. I've been back to homecoming with her, and we've been up there a couple times together. And it's just a very special place for her. I used to go to Lubbock when I was younger, hanging out with rodeo people. I would go up there for the rodeo stuff. And then oil field stuff, I ended up in and out of Lubbock and Midland, Odessa, many different times in my life. And at one time, I pursued a young lady who was attending Texas Tech College that wasn't Rachel. And I had gone up to Lubbock a couple times to hang out with her. I didn't end up panning out, but I always had a good time when I was there. And Rachel, of course, at this point, she didn't get to go on this trip. Wanted to make sure I went to one. It's called Spanky's. It's right there in Lubbock. It did not disappoint. It's best. I didn't eat all day in preparation for Spanky's because she assured me how good that burger was, and I'm still trying to keep my calories down. But boy, I enjoyed every last bite of that burger. I still got anxiety about the Lubbock show because it's in a bar, and bars aren't always the best environments for comedy. And we hook up with the bar owner, Mr. Jacob, who's just a pleasant fellow. And he says, "Come over to Jake's, our back room, and we'll do a sound check." So we get over there. He said, "I've called the sound guy. He'll be up here in a little while." And I'm immediately like, this show is going to be trash. Because, first of all, it's sweltering in this room, and hot people don't laugh. In comedy clubs, they generally keep the air down for a reason because people are a little colder. They laugh, it heats them up, they feel better. I don't know the psychology behind it. Hot people don't laugh. Hot environments are always the worst for comedy. One of the big keys to comedy is people need to be comfortable air condition wise. Hot environments suck. That's why I hate outdoor shows. Plus, you have sound issues with outdoor shows and a lot of distractions, and it's always right. Doing festivals and shit like that is terrible. So I'm already like, oh god, it's hot here. High ceilings. High ceilings are often terrible environments for comedy because the laughter just goes up there and disappears. So high open ceilings, really tall stage. That makes comedy weird sometimes. It's great for music, but when you're doing comedy, I'm trying to have an intimate connection with the audience, and being that raised up above them sometimes takes away from that. So I'm like, okay, we are checking all the check marks for a terrible show here. And I just assumed that in this tinny open environment, the sound is going to be awful. And the sound guy walks in the door, and the sound guy looks like every sound guy that was once a musician and probably opened for Pat Green one time and almost made it, and then ended up doing sound in a local favorite hangout for live music. I see all that on him when he walks in the door. I'm like, yep, here we go. And I start walking towards the stage, and he says, "Do you want a wireless mic or a wired mic?" And I said, "Please, God, give me a wired mic. I hate wireless mics." And he says, "I hate wireless mics too." And that caught my eye. I go, whoa, wait a minute. I've misread this guy. Because a lot of sound guys love to tell you about their wireless mics and all the gadgety and gee whiz underneath them. And they just think it's the best thing in the world. And they suck for stand up comedy because they are going to cut out on a punchline every opportunity. I don't care how much money you've dumped in your wireless mic. I've worked with the best ones. They suck. When I go on stage, I want an old school wired mic. And he said, "I just got some new wired mics. These are virgin and they sound so good, you're not going to be able to believe it." Sound guy, you have my attention. You're talking my language now, bruh. I jog up them stairs to get on stage. I'm excited now. And we start testing the sound. I start talking in that mic, and there's a little tinniness and a little reverb, and there's some harshness to it. And within 3 sentences, he tunes all this out, and I just sound clear as a bell. I said, "Boy, I'll be damned." Barry's sitting in the back room. "How's that sound?" Barry said, "Man, sounds better than I expected it to." I said, "Barry, get your ass up here. Let him tune for you." Barry gets up there. He tunes for Barry. Barry sounds fantastic. I'm like, holy hell, we got us a sound guy. We got us a sound guy, baby. Now I'm like, oh, I'm feeling a little better. Then I find out we got about 50 tickets sold. I'm like, okay, so for a little gig that we just threw together on the back end, we got something magical coming together here. Then, right before we leave, go back to the hotel, Jacob explains to us that he's got 2 new air conditioners on the roof, and the fella is on his way right that moment to hook them up. And he's going, as soon as he gets them hooked up, they're going to be turned down, blowing cold air in that room. I said, boy, I'll be damned. Look at you worried about shit that wasn't none of your business to be worried about. We go back to the hotel. We got 40 minutes before we got to be back over there for the show. So I set my alarm for 20 minutes and I lay on a much nicer bed in a Holiday Inn Express. And I take myself a good, just a 15, 20-minute power nap. Just out. I'm so exhausted. I go right out. Um, Barry goes, takes a shit in the hotel lobby bathroom because we're gentlemen. We have rules about that sort of thing. So you don't shit in the green room. You don't shit in the hotel room if you're sharing a room. Barry comes back. We get ready for the show. We go over there to do the show. Young lady in town that is on the local radio station is going to open for us. She's going to do 5 to 10 minutes up front. Her name's Chrissy Covington. I don't know much about her. Rachel's talked to her a bunch and seems to like her, which is a good sign for me. You have to get through Rachel before you get to me. So I'm like, whew, all right. And she turns out to be fantastic. I like her the minute I walk in the room and talk to her. I'm here or there on radio DJs sometimes. Sometimes they think they're funnier than they are and they're not great at stand up. This young lady's got some stand up chops. She gets on the stage. She does an excellent job opening the show. Not only that, she's been promoting the show all week. And she was guaranteed no pay or anything like that. We did send her, we Venmoed her some money because she was just fantastic. But she's just a delightful person. She hates all the same people I do. We get along right off the bat. People in comedy. Y'all don't know. But I'm like, oh, I vibe with this young lady. She's fantastic. And she's a pro. She goes up there, handles like a professional, gets Barry on the stage. I was so delighted to meet her and so thankful for her time. And we'll definitely be working with this young lady again in the future. I guarantee next time I go back to Lubbock, I'm going to have Chrissy play a little bigger part in the show because she was funny, raw, but she doesn't have a good scene to polish her up. But if that young lady was in Houston or even the DFW scene, she would be even farther along than she is now. It was not hacky, wore out premises. It was, she's got something. You don't always find that on the road. All right, let's get to the main crux of this. One of my things I like to do when Barry's on stage or my opener's on stage is I don't like to make a lot of fuss at the beginning of the show. I don't like to meet people right before the show because I'm off in my head working on my act. And one of my things I like to do is kind of hide out in the green room until the show gets started and then go out there and watch the crowd. And I'll sneak in the back of the room somewhere and sit down and find myself a pole to lean against. And two things. I like watching Barry work. He's a good comic. And I like to watch a guy. I'm still a fan of comedy. And I want to watch my buddy work. I want to see what's working in case there's something I can call back to, or even something I can bust his balls about later in the hotel room, right? I want to watch him work. So I'm watching Barry work. He's killing it. He's beating them up. The beats are hitting. It's a good crowd. I'm reading the crowd. Over at a table over here, I see this giant of a man stand up. And I can tell he's looking at me. He's got long hair and a big old thick mustache and beard. And he's a big fella. A Sasquatch of a man, if you will. And he starts walking towards me. I notice he's got a ZZ Top shirt on. And I'm watching the show and kind of watching him. And he's walking directly towards me, and he's not walking towards the bar, and he's not walking towards where the bathrooms are. And I realize I'm about to have an interaction. And so occasionally this happens. People see me, recognize me, they won't come talk to me. And we keep it low and quiet because I don't want to disrupt the show. And always tell them I'll take pictures afterwards, yada, yada, yada. This fellow is coming straight for me. So I look at him and I meet his gaze. He's staring at me. And when I meet his eyes, he grins. And I'm like, all right, I'm probably not about to get beat up. This guy seems happy to see me. And he comes up and it was so cool the way he did it. He kind of walks up beside me. He leans down. He's quite a bit taller than me. He goes, hey, there's an open tab at the bar under Forest. Anything you want's covered. All right, brother? And then walks on by. Goes to the bar, gets his thing. Doesn't disrupt the show. Delivers his message and walks on by. I said, boy, that son of a bitch in Forest, that's a real one right there. I don't drink a lot on the road, but I'm like, man, might take him up on a drink after the show or something like that. Go on, do the show. The show's fantastic. These crowds are feeling it. So I'm noticing this difference in crowds. Whereas it used to be a lot of people were there because of truck astrology. I'm having more and more people tell me after the shows that they're wrecking yard people. I'm having more and more people that are coming because of the Faulkner stuff and some of the poetry and some of the other stuff I'm doing and some of my more serious work. More and more people coming because they're getting exposed to my stand up. And it's becoming less truck astrology, which is fine. I love my truck astrology people, but these are people that now know that I'm capable of something deeper and they're there for a deeper experience. It's a different vibe. And I realize while I'm on stage that a great number of these people are wrecking yard people because they're laughing at, I'm now doing the story about how I fell off the roof and all that stuff we covered in the first season. And these people, I can tell they know what's coming, but they're laughing at all the right punchlines, but they're also laughing at stuff that they know is going to play out. Like I can just tell from the vibe of the show. The show is just fantastic. I broke into this Pentecostal preacher thing. I used to do a bit about Pentecostal preachers, but this thing I broke into at this show, I cannot wait to see the video on it because I just stepped into that character and had a little fun. And they were with me for the ride. The show's just fantastic. I let them know I have my Diamond Gem certified stickers for sale after the show. And also, you don't have to buy anything. Please come up, take pictures of me. I've been doing this 20 years, working my ass off. So if people want to take pictures with me, still blows my mind every time. I'm eternally grateful. And then I tell them a special little story that I don't tell everywhere. I have this 20-minute story about College Station. And if you've heard me tell that story on stage, that's I don't record it. I only do it on live shows every once in a while. So if you've heard me tell that story, you're in kind of rare air. I don't do it at every show, but I do this story, and of course they love it. And I spent about an hour, 15 minutes on stage working through the new special, and afterwards we go line up at the merch booth, and there's about 6 people that walk out of the show. They're older people; they want to get home, but they shake my hand, maybe take a quick picture on their way out of the showroom, and then we go in there to the merch table, and there is a line all through the room of people waiting to get Diamond Gem certified stickers. I sold $400 worth of Diamond Gem certified stickers that night at the merch table. I took pictures with everybody that was in line, and Forrest says, "Hey, I want to get some stickers from you, but I also want to take a picture." I also meet this young man who was in town helping his mother-in-law that was going through some stuff and found out his father died that night and just happened to drive by and see my name on the club and was like, "That's exactly what I need." And I always miss it. He's from East Texas and he always misses me when I come to East Texas. So he's psyched. And he's also going through this huge moment in his life. And I could tell he's trying to process it, but he's putting on a stiff upper lip. And I take a picture with him and the owner of the bar, and we have some conversation about what he's going through. And I, when I do my meet and greets, I try to talk to you guys. I try to really kind of get a vibe. And my heart goes out to this young man. I ain't going to spread his business all over town and put his name out there, but I know this week he is dealing with some wreckage in his life, and I hope he comes through it as best as you can get through that kind of wreckage. Meet a couple Mexican brothers who have spent some time on vacation in Huntsville, and they're very familiar with Houston street slang, and we have a good time hanging out with them and get to the end of it. And there's Forrest, and Forrest has brought his rolled up 8 deep. He's got his little cousin with him. He's got his wife with him. He's got his friends from work. He's come from Kermit, Texas to see this show. And so I take some pictures with Forrest and his whole family, and they're all just delightful. They've had a great time at the show, even the ones that didn't know anything about what it's about. And I think Forrest buys about $30 worth of Diamond Gem certified stickers from me, which is a nice little boost. And we get done, we put all our stuff up, and there's a big main bar out front. And some people invite us to go have some drinks at some other places, but there's a young man that saw me in Iraq is there at the show. He's not a young man anymore, but he saw me in Iraq and he's like, "You're even funnier now than you were then." And he buys me a beer while I'm on stage and drink me a little Lone Star. Another band brings me a Shiner Bock, and they're just the people are being kind, and it's just a fabulous experience at the meet and greet after the show. And I always do that meet and greet after the show because I think it's important to thank the people that got you there. But Forrest and his family are sitting at the bar, and we go into the main bar to get us a drink. And Forrest goes, "Hey, I got your drink. Come sit down for a minute." And there's something about the way Forrest waves his cigarette that reminds me of Uncle Bobby and lets my guard down. Because I love beating people, but not everybody has the best intentions. But there's something about the way Forrest waves his cigarette when he waves me over the table that reminds me of my Uncle Bobby. And I'm instantly like, I need to go talk to this guy. I go sit down at Forrest's table. We start having conversation, and Forrest gives me the best testimonial anybody's ever given me for the wrecking yard. Forrest's just like, man, when I sit down, he goes, "How the hell are you so well adjusted? Because I'm a day oneer. I've been on this trip with you, and you've been through some shit, man. How much therapy have you had?" I said, "Well, I had no therapy." I said, "I met Rachel. I met this good woman that gave me the space to figure out what was wrong with me and the tools to help me figure it out." And he points over at his wife. And he goes, "I told you." And he's like, "That's my Rachel, right?" And I feel bad. I can't remember her name right now off the bat, but she's a delight. His whole family, his little cousin's great. His friends that are with him, his other buddy, who's a little drunk, but he's still great. Bless him. And I sit there and have it, and Forrest just tells me, he's like, "Man, you say something in every episode that I can latch onto and that helps me figure out things in my life." And he's like telling me, and towards the end of we sit there for an hour and we have some drinks, and it's just as fantastic. He wants to go tuna fishing, and I'm 100% down to go. Now that I've met the man and I know him, I feel like, yeah, I would go tuna fishing with you, bro. And it's just a super, but he says something to me at the end of the conversation that I just can't shake. He says, "I know you always say that you're doing the podcast for you, but you're not just doing it for you anymore. You're doing it for us now. I don't know if you know that." And that got into my brain and wiggled around and thought, what a thing to say. You're not just doing it for you anymore. You're doing it for all of us. And it struck me, and I just had a delightful time with him. We call it because we got to get up early and drive back to Houston. We're going to go back to the hotel. So we call it and we go back to the hotel. And the next morning, we get up, butthole. Some asshole in this hotel set the alarm clock for 5 o'clock in the morning. Whoever that is, I hope a world of unending torture follows you for the rest of your life, you son of a bitch. Because it was an alarm clock, you couldn't even get to the plug to unplug it. And it only had two buttons on it, and I couldn't read either one of those buttons at 5 a.m. And I beat that alarm clock like a Viking until the alarm clock stopped working. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to get billed for an alarm clock from Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Lubbock, Texas. We get up, we make the drive back to Houston. Of course, I'm not done working. We get back to Houston 4 or 5, and my editor's waiting for me. I got to get on the phone with Adam. I got to answer some questions and help some stuff out with a chapter. 7 or 8 o'clock, get done with all my little chores I need to do, and I can just hang out with Mama. I'm, of course, exhausted. I don't make it long. And that's why we took yesterday and just chilled and vibed together, because I needed, my body was wrecked after 2,200 miles in a little buckboard Mazda. I'm in much better shape. A year ago, it probably would have killed me, but whoo, my hips hurt, my knees hurt, my back hurts. I had to do a little yoga today to kind of get myself to even come out here. But I'll tell you this, $150 worth of fuel to go 2,200 miles. So pretty impressed with the little car. The old Mazda 3 did the job. I am thinking at some point, probably in the near future, I'm going to buy something else. And I think I'm going to fix everything that's wrong with the Mazda and try to find some fella to make him a good deal on a good asshole car. Because before I put too many more miles on it, ruin it, it's still under 100,000 miles, and it's still a good asshole car for somebody. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I need something just a little bigger. I just do. I need something a little more comfortable for these long distances. So I'm going to have to give up my little my little silver bullet diamond gem edition Mazda. But for now, it's got good tires on it, and I'm gonna use the hell out of it. Let's wrap it up there. Let's do some testimonials. Even though Forrest is the best testimonial I've ever had in my life. Also, if you're interested in, some people have handwritten me some, Amy Iris and the gentleman last week who wrote me the letter. If you're interested, if you go to my link tree, at PO box address is there. I love handwritten stuff, and I think what we're going to do with some of this handwritten stuff is we're going to clip it up and use it as blurbs for the book release. And so, if you want the opportunity to maybe be featured on that, but it's kind of wild, the stuff y'all tell me and the way the Wrecking Yard has affected your life. And me and Rachel and the edit and Adam have like, man, this might be great blurbs for the book, or even put them on the inside cover on the back, take some photos of them, scan them in. So if you'd like to write us something here at the Wrecking Yard, you can go find that address on Linktree. Um, just Linktree Jerry Wayne Longmire. All right, here we go. At Ron Tucker 2549, some testimonials, if you will. Are you ever going to roast trucks again? I get a lot of these comments, bro. I just did one 2 weeks ago. They're going to be a little spare and a little fewer in between. I just don't have as much time to do them, and honestly, those videos just don't do as well anymore. So there's not a lot of it's. I'm going to keep doing them because I love doing them for the fans, but they have to come after all the other work I'm doing at the moment. So there's going to be less of them. At Pinto Pop Productions. When I was a little kid growing up in the early 90s, my cousin and I were avid diecast collectors. My grandparents gave us jointly a Matchbox gift set, which we were allowed to split. Either because of that set or separately, I came into ownership of a Matchbox Ford RS200. I didn't even know that existed. I was kind of destructive of my early toys, and for some reason, I guess I didn't like the white color on the RS200, so I chipped the paint off much of it. Sorry, I had to do this one in two parts. Later, around age of 9, I received some beautiful Hot Wheels that I loved enough to not crash my cars anymore and strove to take better care of my fleet. I've added thousands of cars to my diecast collection through my life. I still have that old chipped up RS200 in my collection more than 30 years later. A lot of my collection, a lot of these cars sitting out here, I have owned this car since I was 5 to 7 years old. So I 100% understand that. That's a beautiful thing, brother. We don't have any new cars to unwrap this week. And once again, I forgot to bring my Mobile One poster out here to show y'all. Here we go. At Ryan O'Donnell, 1985. Hey, Judd W. Ryan from Derbyshire in the UK here. Such a shame you're so far away. I've learned many of my skills from gentlemen such as yourself, and your stories and wisdom is quite addicting to me. You're looking fantastic with your health work, and I'm looking forward to your book. Keep the rubber side down and keep on doing all your amazing things. You're a real inspiration for a lot of dudes out here, and we love y'all too, JW. Stay safe, buddy. Hey, man. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. That is the thing I'm finding out. Oh, Forrest said something like Forrest triggered something in me that I didn't realize. And well, I'm just gonna tell y'all. Thank you, Ryan. Let's wrap this thing up. When Forrest told me I'm not just doing this podcast for myself anymore, brother, that was like a lightning bolt straight to the heart. I felt it in my chest. I felt it in my bones. It was like the whole room shifted and the air got heavier. Like the universe itself just leaned in and whispered, son, this ain't just about you no more. I mean, right before the last episode of the season, too, it shook me driving back. I kept thinking about it. When we first started working on the book, one of the things my editor, Adam, told me that the book was a not so subtle guide on how not to be a piece of shit. And we laughed about that. And I said, well, that really wasn't my intention with it. He said, no, but you were very vulnerable and honest about your failings, and it helps people do the same. And I was like, well, okay. I laughed at it. I thought it was just Adam being Adam. But then I talked to Forrest Thursday night, and the scales fell right off my eyes. So I didn't come into this with a blueprint. There's no master plan, no 10-point strategy to make a brand. I just showed up week after week, word after word. First season, 450,000 words in 30 weeks I wrote. That's 15,000 words a week I wrote. I went from writing 50 words a week to 15,000 words a week just for this show. And somewhere in the middle of that, I made myself a writer against my own will, but right on time. Now, hear me, church, nothing right now is fine. I say this to y'all all the time. Whatever's going on with you right now, it ain't the final. We are still being shaped. We are all still being shaped. We are all still being refined. We are all still on the wheel, and the work ain't done yet. That chisel you feel, that fire you're walking through, it's just the shaping. It's just the firing, getting you ready for the purpose you don't even see yet. I don't believe I'm done. I don't believe you are done. And I know damn sure Forrest ain't done. There is room at this table for everybody. The hungry, the hurting, the ones who think they've messed it up beyond repair, the ones who've been told that they don't belong. Baby, you belong. Pull up a chair because I'm rooting for you. And I can feel with every single show we do that y'all are rooting for me too. It's never been more clear. So let's keep walking. Let's keep showing up. Let's keep writing our story and let whoever's writing the big book of all of us get on with it. I'm rooting for you. I'm JW, and I love you.